Ninjas versus Negroes. This was a podcast that was done. They had what's my guy? His name. This is Jason Whitlock, and he had a panel with several people. I've seen this panel before. Officer Tatum was on there, and I'm loving this topic right now. This topic is the big topic right now because it matters so much.
Okay,
and
I wasn't talking about this video, but it's cool. Yeah, it was a different.
You were talking
one.
about something else?
Yeah.
But I want to see this. Said Ninjas versus Negroes. Who's winning?
Yeah, that's good. This is a good one. I didn't see this one. If you're turning 65 or already on Medicare, here's the truth. Most people are already on the wrong plan.
Why? Because it's confusing. Most advisors only give you a handful of options. Chapter is different.
They search every Medicare plan nationwide to find the one that fits your need. No guesswork, no sales pitch, just honest expert guidance.
The result? Most people save over $1,000 a year. One free call can change everything. Call Chapter today.
White people watching this are probably having. Brandon, I'll start with you. Are there more N-words than regular black people? Are we outnumbered?
Well, man, you put me on the spot. Some people ain't gonna like what
That's
I have
what this
to say.
show does.
I'd say, unfortunately, I think that there's a slight majority that's N-words. I think that it's a dwindling population. And the reason I say this, because you can look at voting, and it can be somewhat of a determining factor. You can look at the way black women vote, which is astronomically outrageous in my personal opinion. So with those voting numbers and with things that I see online, even when I was a police officer, I think unfortunately there's a good majority of black people who are like that. And I think that there's a small group of, or not say small group, but just a slight minority group of black people who are with it. Black people who understand politics, black people who love this country and that are willing to stand up on principle. I mean, I feel like I'm the only one out here half of the time, other than the people on this panel.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're the few out here that's willing to say,
Us
no,
too.
Angel Reese is wrong for what she did.
Yeah.
Or Angel Reese is not as good as Caitlin Clark. It's not a race issue. You know, Shedeur Sanders not getting drafted in the first round or the first overall pick. I knew he wasn't gonna get drafted first overall way back when he was playing. Anybody that know football know he wasn't gonna get drafted there. He shouldn't have. His attitude and character is bad. So, you know, it's not a lot of us saying this. And the ones that say it, we get called Uncle Tom Coon sellouts. We get shamed for marrying white women or whatever the case may be. So I feel like it's a slight minority of us that are with it. Unfortunately, a 51% is probably need to get on board.
Delano, I'm gonna ask you the same question. I'll ask it differently. More ninjas or more Negroes?
Let's go. Come on.
Wilford, prepare to answer this question.
I mean, in my personal experience, it's definitely more Negroes than ninjas. But I'm not blind to the reality that many ninjas exist. I will say this though, because I want to be honest in terms of the conversation. The whole notion of black fatigue, at least as it relates to the social media phenomenon of black fatigue, is not just a ninja conversation. Because I see plenty of accounts where it'll be a room full of black doctors or engineers, young people. And somebody will get on there and say, "Oh, but let me see your MCAT. Let me see your GRE scores. I bet they were lower than the average white person." So, at least again, and I'm separating social media from real life because I don't get most of this stuff in my real life. I mean, I certainly see some ninja activity in my real life, but in terms of the tension, the racial tension, I don't have that in my real life. And part of that is just the circles I'm in, the neighborhood I live in, the people that I'm around,
exactly,
so on and so forth. But the online phenomenon is not just criticism of ninja activity. It's criticism of black people in prominent positions and the notion that they got there because they did not have the same they had lower qualifications than some of their white peers. And I've seen that, and I've responded to some people, some of them very well-known white conservatives, by the way, asking them to sort of explain how they drew certain conclusions. So I'll put
let me ask you this. Let me put a small pin and ask you a follow-up. Because things in American culture are so divided along political lines, and I think inappropriately divided along political lines, that perhaps what your black doctors, lawyers, professionals, professors, so many of them are leftists, that there's a fatigue from people on the conservative side of just like, hey, when are you going to acknowledge that this leftist stuff, this destruction of the nuclear family, blah, blah, blah. And so black doctors, lawyers, intellectuals, college professors, many of them all believe that racism explains everything, and there's a fatigue over that among conservatives that are like, nah, man, the destruction of family explains everything, or all these negative outcomes. And so that maybe that the pushback is about your political ideology being leftist, and they believe there's a denial of the realities. Like, yeah, y'all want to keep going down that Marxist leftist route, and then keep complaining that you're not getting the results that people in traditional families are getting, there's a fatigue over that, the denial of just factual truth. God intended for man and woman to be married and raise their children, and if you don't do that, you're gonna see a lot of people tatted up with pants hanging off their rear end, smoking weed, and being very rude to people in public.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly see criticism.
So that goes back to the conversation that we're having. If it's not in your environment, so hence you see these activities in these particular stores because that's the environment. But you go to this same store in another area, no, you're not going to see those people. Why? Because they're not in that environment. But so to me, what he's saying it is not even relative to what the real question is.
It wasn't. It went somewhere else.
His environment is that group. So maybe that's the fatigue in that group of people. But no. You know, gun dog on me, but he doesn't see it. So, like I said, it's not in his environment. Yeah, so he doesn't even entertain it.
Right.
So in social
media, he probably
media,
lives so far away from that.
Right.
Everybody around him may be white.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
But you can't say you haven't been in a place where you haven't seen that.
No. And maybe I don't know where he grew up at, but if you from Atlanta, Georgia, and you were raised anywhere in the city, or if you live in the South Side within the year 2003 on to this day, just on Georgia, that's the state I can speak from because that's where I'm from, you see it every day. It's regular. It's normal.
Of leftists, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to say leftist, don't say black, right? If you have ignorance fatigue, then say ignorant. But once you put a racial descriptor on, and again, the things that I'm seeing or the issues that I'm referring to are not ones where someone is pushing back on a black person, blaming racism for why black people are not further ahead. I'm talking about, again, it's a room full of people that no one knows. Or if you get on a plane and you're a conservative influence, you said, oh, I just saw there's a black pilot. Oh, pray to God that the plane lands safely. That's not an issue of ninja behavior. Or I'll give another example, and I name names just because so people don't have to guess what I'm talking about. During the election last year, when Charlie Kirk referred to Lloyd Austin, right, as a DEI hire, my question is, in what sense is Lloyd Austin a DEI hire? He has all of the qualifications that all the previous secretaries of defense had, but if DEI is stand-in, and DEI I think is part of the black fatigue phenomenon, if DEI is a stand-in for black people on the center left in prominent positions who I believe got there primarily because of their skin color, then you got to own that. So I'm a big person in not conflating different issues. And yes, as somebody who has lived in and around cities my entire life and worked and much respect to Officer Tatum because he was out there on the front lines as a police officer. My last year in city government in DC was in the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And yes, I did have fatigue with every single morning the police captain, one of the captains or higher up saying young black male, young black male, young black male for both perpetrator and victim. Yes, I did get fatigued by that. But some of the stuff I see online is not just about what black people are doing.
He don't want to accept the reality.
Exactly.
He don't want to. He's trying to separate it.
The adjective in front of the noun is black is because that is the majority of people who we're seeing do these things. Come on now, don't deviate from what it is.
The notion that black people are being in a particular space at a particular time.
Wilford, what do you think of my argument? I'm gonna ask you to arbitrate this. What do you think of my argument that perhaps some of that is just like, take me. I'm fed up with leftist, Marxist, feminist mentality. And there is a certain group that at like a 94, 95% clip seems to be in support. Feminism, leftist, Democrat Party, blah, blah, blah. And so we've been stereotyped, people with our skin color, as like, you support the entire leftist agenda. And I'm frustrated by it.
Yeah, I think there's a mix of things going on, and that is one of them. But I think Delano also made a pretty good point. I will say on my social media, I've been arguing with the feminists in particular for the past couple of weeks about these crazy issues like, is your husband wanting sex a form of slavery? So, I mean, I think there's a lot of lunatic nonsense out there. And I do think black people are associated with that. But I took a couple notes on this pad here. One, I don't think that there are more ninjas, as we're all politely saying, than Negroes in the black community. I think if you look at, we sometimes overhype this black women are the most educated group and so on. They're actually third. But there are a lot of just normal black people in this country. I think all of us are pretty representative, actually. You go down to the police station, which I do as an academic. We're trying to get young men jobs. You're going to see about 30% black cops, and they're just going to be hanging around BSing with the white cops. I mean, they're a very large number of normal people. Also, like I said, living in Kentucky, and I don't want to insult my neighbors, but you really do see that ninja behavior is pretty cross-racial. I mean, down here, if you're playing basketball across the street from a trailer park and there's someone sitting on the porch in a quote-unquote wife beater drinking a 40-ounce, the odds they're black are like 1 in 8. I mean, and you can see that in the income stats for Appalachia, so on. So I think everyone needs to be critical of that kind of thing from a religious perspective, political perspective, policing perspective. The second thing I noted down is that social media is a really enhanced version of reality. So the black crime rate is about twice the white crime rate right now. And everyone records these videos of fist fights at their high school and this kind of stupid thing, stuff that happens once every 100 days maybe. And they upload that to social. And you're going to see a disproportionate number of black people involved in that. And that is definitely going to make people have a more critical view of black people. And that's going to spread over to other things. So I agree with Delano that when you see maybe the scores at Howard are 5% lower than the scores at Penn or something, but when you see a bunch of black doctors graduating, there's not inherently a reason to greet that with any negativity at all, right? But the reaction is I'm now associating that with these videos I've seen. I'm now associating that with these headlines about affirmative action in the conservative press. They don't deserve to be there. And that is really an online thing where blacks, whites, everyone sees this enhanced reality and get mad, scream at each other. People say stuff on social media they would never say in reality because they can't get punched in the face on a computer. So, I mean, everyone is just incredibly negative, incredibly polarized. I do think a third thing, though, like something I would actually take the black community to task for, is that ninja behavior may be nearly as common among Appalachians or Hispanics or Native Americans, certainly if you've ever been to the res. But I do think in the black community alone, there's this idea of kind of glorifying it. So a lot of people get shot by the police. Black people are only about 20% of the people that get shot by the police. You have a ton of Irish, Italian, Native, Mexican, Puerto Rican, whatever criminals. But you can't name any of them, right? Like, there was a conscious movement to make George Floyd into a cultural icon. I mean, that was not ideal policing, but George Floyd's also on fentanyl. He's on meth. He has active COVID. No other ethnic group would be building bronze statues of that guy.
Right.
And I do think that's a problem that we need to address. There are like 3 George Floyd monuments by this point.
Oh, my gosh.
So
I didn't know that.
Hood behavior, very common, a little more common among us, but we keep promoting it as authentic. And especially for the fathers out there, that's an enormous problem.
Help us grow the Fearless Army.
Wow.
Pound that like button.
Oh, man.
Subscribe to the channel.
The lady.
I was hoping to hear her, but it seems like whenever I see her on something, she's always not the first to speak. Like
that, this channel is showing different, ethnic groups being attacked or arrested by the police and things that happened to them during their arrest. However, the media doesn't show those. All you see a lot of times, and especially local cities and states, is what?
Yeah.
So I believe it. I do. But if people don't go do the research, then you all you're going to think and see is that.
I've seen it. See, for me, my worldview is being there in the moment and seeing it live in 3D. So my worldview is going to be in the trenches of seeing it versus somebody's worldview seeing it from the outside and saying this and that. But still, yeah, although some of that footage may be uploaded, it may be not a normal thing. Look how it looks, but look when it is uploaded. And like, I don't know. I speak from a standpoint of me seeing this regularly and seeing this mindset regularly. And so I can't speak from a place of I don't know. I feel like those 2 last guys, I'm just beyond touch. You kind of out of touch from the reality that we see it from.
But if they're far removed from it, I mean, I know, no, we don't live around it.
We're from Atlanta.
Right,
what you talking about?
Yes, but I'm saying currently, but still, you still can't negate that experience that you had. And don't, still, and now, because of social media, it's, everybody's recording.
Yeah.
Everybody's recording. You're seeing things, you're being recorded. But the question is, who is it of the recordings?
Yeah.
In these types of situations.
Because when I'm scrolling through, let's say an X, let's say X. Let's say that's biased. Let's say you got some random white dude that want to just show how bad black people be looking with all this fighting and stuff. But then you can go to TikTok and you scroll through and eventually you're going to run into that over there. So it's like, it's not just something that's just random. No, there is a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
Yeah. And it needs to be addressed so there can be a shift, because I don't know, maybe since COVID, it just seemed like it tripled. Things weren't, we weren't talking about it as much. You didn't see it as much.
George Floyd sparked all that.
And there are monuments. There are 2, he said?
3.
I remember 1, but
what?
2 more? Where? I bet you New York.
Chicago, probably.
And where do you think the other one is?
It ain't gonna be the South. It's gonna be like.
That's a good question.
Like, where was he at? Where was he from? Where did that happen at?
I don't know.
Wherever that state is.
Yeah.
Wherever state he was. But I don't know. The 2 guys, Officer Tatum is gonna have more in touch with the situation than them 2 guys, especially the last guy. I see in my country. I don't know. I can't even see you like really culturally attached. I'm talking about people who's been there and experienced it.
Yeah. Well, the rise of social media and the recording, the digital age.
I think it puts things on
live
blast.
Streaming has quadrupled it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And then you had sites that are particular that want to see the trash or that put up that type of content, specifically for that. It's all on there, but it's just, and maybe there are a lot of things, that's within other races.
Yeah.
But you don't see it.
You don't see it.
You don't see it.
I don't see it as much.
As much.
And I don't believe that that's just somebody saying, nah, let's just shame the black people. I'm like, no, that's where the footage is coming from the most.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
What do y'all think? Drop it in the comments section. We love you guys. We appreciate your support. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, turn on the notification bell, and we'll catch you